CrimeFighters. Promote
I always like to look at the judiciary from the point of view of the symbol of the judiciary. That is the blindfolded woman with a sword on the right. The blindfolding is that whoever crosses her path is struck. She doesn't see. She's not partial. So the judiciary is supposed to be like that blindfolded woman in determining what happens. And so far, it has tried. It's a mixed grill. We have situations where you have decisions that people say, how can that happen? And we have had situations like the one last week or so about is it Adamawa or Adamawa State, that people said, okay, this is, it still gives us the confidence that the judiciary is still the last hope of the common man. So my assessment of the judiciary is that, just like the Chief Justice of Nigeria would say, we still have people on the bench who are not supposed to be there. In any system you have bad eggs. There are a number of them. But the current Chief Justice of Nigeria has tried her best in weeding out those who are handing out the so-called cash and carry injunctions and the rest. But the judiciary is crucial to a good electoral process. Because at the end of the day, we have seen in this country that nobody ever, except for Ekiti, even after the governor conceded defeat, the party still went to the court. So at the end of the day, almost all the elections will end up in the judiciary. And the judiciary at that point in time cannot afford to fail. If it fails, it means everything will go wrong. So the judiciary is very, very crucial in the process, because most of the elections will end up being decided finally in the courts.
The role of the judiciary is simple. The judiciary can only exercise its power when cases of violence are brought before the courts. Those primarily empowered to stop the violence or curtail it in one way or the other are the law enforcement agencies. They should be up and doing at this time of the year. They don't need to wait before things happen. They must use their intelligence to identify areas that can cause problem to the polity.
Well, the judiciary should continue to remain as the last hope of the common man, which I think it still does. To me, the judiciary still remain what it should be, the hope of the common man, the last hope of the common man. The judiciary continue to remain impartial, continue to remain independent, arm of government, dispense justice as it should be. That should be the role of the judiciary.
Well, I think in that wise, the function of the judiciary is basically to apply the law and interpret the correct position of our law. So to that extent, you discover that the issue of preventing electioneering, thuggery, and what have you is also a function of legislation. So the legislative arm of the government has a role to play, just as the judiciary also have their own role to play. But one way to ensure that the judiciary play the role very well is to ensure that whenever a case is referred to the court, the case will need to be determined dispassionately in the interest of justice and without any delay, because they say justice delay is like justice denied.
Judiciary have a role to play like any other person. Even you as a press person, you have a role to play. That without one man, one vote, then if one man, one vote is introduced and anybody that votes and the winner is a match, then the judicial control has to see that the elected person is swaying, and that is what they are supposed to do. They are not going to rig the election. They are not going to hand the registration, the electoral voters number which the other person win to other person. They have to control it.
While the judiciary have a critical role to play, political parties remain central to the entire process. What are the responsibilities and duties of these associations as stakeholders in the democratic process?
The politicians, if they don't allow thuggery acts, there will be peace. It's supposed to be a free and fair of a thing. If you lose, take it in good faith. If you win, fine. But they will say, no. This one will say we are going to challenge it in the court, the law court. This one, the other one will say, no, this is what happened, this is what happened. And if any mayhem break out somewhere, they will be denying it. Party A will say, no, they are not the ones. The other ones will say, and all this propaganda of a thing that inciting words, attacking the other opponent to bring all these issues of crisis. Most of them do deny it, that they don't have talks in their group, they don't have this, they don't have people that causes fracas here and there in their group. But every political party has its own talks.
The politicians should be a little bit more objective in their approach to the way they seek various elective offices. And if they maintain something by way of a persuasive approach to reach the electorate, and knowing fully well that they are putting across to the electorates what they are capable of doing, and the electorate believes in them, certainly these electorates will vote for this kind of candidate rather than people that are bereft of any ideas insisting that they must get to a particular political office. What you discover is that most people that wants to get to a particular office at all cost, they are there for just for their own personal gains. And whereas the concept of this electoral process should be aimed at getting to the office to be able to serve the people. And the yardstick is simple. You find somebody who is struggling to get to the office today. The moment he gets to that particular office, his fortune changes dramatically.
How can the nation stem the rising tide of electoral violence?
We can only minimize this if the aspirants tell their members to be cautious, to tolerate each other, to overlook. I would want a situation where APC and PDP will be doing campaign side by side, like we used to do in the old, where you will see an action group campaigning on one street, NCNC campaigning on another street. And I remember in UPN days, they go from house to house campaigning. UPN will be in one house, MPN is in the other house. Sometimes there are clashes, sometimes they tolerate each other, and the campaign moves on. It's just that they need tolerance. We have to tolerate our views. It's a view. It's everybody's view. All of us cannot be in one party.
Government should try to make the political post less lucrative. Because if a candidate, people are supporting a certain candidate, they want the party to emerge as a winner. Because once he emerges as a winner, the followers believe they are going to benefit. That's why they always want it to be a do or die of a thing in order for them to benefit. One, they should make it less lucrative. In overseas countries, we will see a congressman, you can't identify him from a common man. But here, anybody that attend a political post, people worship him. If you want to do this, you go to him and everything. If they make it less lucrative, there will be a kind of sanity.
The way of solving political thuggery in Nigeria will begin by a fight against poverty. We have a country of 170 million people. By some statistics, 110 million are under the poverty line. In a situation like that, there is no way you will go and you cannot recruit political thugs at 500 naira per day. 500 is too expensive. They will do the job for you. So the ground is very fertile for recruitment of political thugs. And until we sort out the problem of poverty and hunger, it is going to remain like that.
So how do you tell a hungry man to turn away from receiving maybe 10,000, 5,000 that he could feed with and vote for the right person? So poverty is the issue here. So before we can be able to tackle that problem, the level of poverty should should be reduced. It's too high. So many people are hungry, and that is why you have issues of stomach infrastructure.
So I think we will continue to educate and enlighten the public that they should not see politics as something about money alone, but it's about your future. So the common man should see himself as the person who has the final say in the life of that politician, because your only one vote means a lot. So that's your vote. You should use it wisely.
Democracy is anchored on free, fair, and credible elections. Without this, the challenges of violence and conflicts may likely persist. But while we all look up to the security agencies, especially the police, to ensure peace and security in the country, it is indeed a collective responsibility.
Crime Fighters, promoting security consciousness.